I never thought smashing a kid's hearing aids could unravel a family empire. But that's exactly what happened when my parents decided my silence was worth more than my voice. It started with a single swing of my father's prized Louisville Slugger, the one he'd used to coach Little League, now weaponized against the plastic miracles that let me hear the world at all. "You're ignoring him again, Aurora. Your brother's the one who needs us," Mom screamed, her words distorted through the crackling feedback of my dying devices, as shards flew like confetti at a funeral. Blood roared in my ears, or what was left of the sound, mixing with the echo of that betrayal. The kind that doesn't just break trust but buries it under years of favoritism and lies I'd swallowed whole. I'd covered for Ethan since we were kids, taking the heat for his screw-ups, his shoplifts, his first drunk drive that nearly killed us both. All because Mom and Dad saw him as their golden boy, the hearing heir to their American dream franchise of car washes and strip malls. But that night, when I refused to lie one more time about his latest mess, an embezzlement scheme that could have tanked their business, I became the enemy. The deaf daughter who chose truth over blood. In the wreckage of that living room in suburban Phoenix, Arizona, under the glare of a flat screen blasting Fox News about border walls and family values, I made a vow they would pay. Not with fists or fury, but with the cold precision of someone who'd learned to read lips and lies from the cradle. And oh, how they lost it all. The Arizona sun baked the cul-de-sac like a forgotten casserole, turning our McMansion into a pressure cooker of resentment long before the bat came down. I was 25, fresh out of community college with an associate's in business admin, ironic, given how I'd end up using it, and crashing back home after a string of dead-end jobs that couldn't accommodate my hearing challenges, as HR emails politely called my profound loss in one ear and partial in the other. Born premature, they'd said, but I knew better now. It was the fall from the attic stairs when I was 4, pushed by a frantic Ethan covering his tracks after stealing Dad's watch to pawn for Pokemon cards. I'd taken the blame then too, tripped on a toy. I signed to the ER doc, because that's what little sisters do for the brother who's supposed to protect you. Ethan was 28, the prodigal son with a jawline like a Marvel antihero and a rap sheet longer than his bar tab. He worked the family business, suds and shine car washes, schmoozing investors with that easy grin while skimming cash for coke-fueled weekends in Vegas. Mom and Dad turned a blind eye, chalking it up to boys will be boys in the land of second chances and tax write-offs. Me? I was the quiet fixer, balancing books in the back office, catching discrepancies they ignored because facing Ethan's theft meant admitting their perfect boy was a parasite. That fateful Tuesday in June, the air conditioner hummed its death rattle as I sat at the kitchen island, signing furiously to Mom about the latest audit flags. Ethan's cooking the numbers again. Over 10 grand this month alone. We need to stop him before the IRS knocks. My hands flew, precise and pleading, but her eyes glazed over, flicking to the doorway where Ethan lounged, nursing a Coors Light like it was holy water. "Aurora." "Honey," she said, her voice syrupy with that southern drawl she'd faked since moving from Ohio to chase Dad's entrepreneurial fever dream. "Your brother's under a lot of stress. The economy's tough on everyone. Let it slide this once." Stress. Right. The kind that came from snorting lines off blackjack tables while I crunched numbers on minimum wage. Ethan sauntered in, clapping me on the shoulder hard enough to jolt my hearing aid. "Cease." Always the buzzkill. "Dad's golfing with Mr. Hargrove tomorrow. Big investor. One bad word from you. And poof. No new location in Scottsdale." His lips curled in that smirk, the one that said he knew I'd fold. Like always. I didn't. For the first time, the weight of all those buried secrets, the car accident I'd claimed was my fault, the school vandalism pinned on me to keep his record clean, snapped like a frayed cochlear wire. No, I signed, then voiced it slow and deliberate, my partial hearing making the words slur just enough to piss them off. I'm telling Dad tonight. This ends. The explosion was biblical. Dad burst through the garage door, reeking of clubhouse scotch, his face purple as the desert sky at sunset. What the hell's this about, Ethan? But before I could repeat it, Ethan was in his ear, whispering poison. I'd been ignoring his calls all week, dodging family meetings to plot against the business. Lies. All of it. I'd been at audiology appointments, begging for upgrades my insurance wouldn't cover. But in their narrative, my silence was sabotage. You ungrateful little, Dad roared, snatching the slugger from its wall mount like it was Excalibur. Mom egged him on, her hands wringing the dish rag like a noose. She's always been jealous, Tom, ever since the accident. Thinks we owe her the world. The accident. There it was. The buried bomb they defused with denial for 2 decades. Not my clumsiness, but Ethan's shove. The watch money he'd blown on arcade games. I'd hit my head on the banister. Doctor's warning of permanent damage. But Mom had sobbed to CPS that it was a tragic slip, and I nodded along. Too young to know better. From then on, every therapy bill, every special ed class, every sideways glance from teachers, they blamed me for being careless, pouring love into Ethan as compensation for their guilt. The bat connected with my hearing aids on the coffee table, a sickening crunch that vibrated through my skull like thunder without sound. Plastic splintered, circuits fried, and the world went muffled, conversations reduced to vibrations and lip-reading guesswork. I clutched the table, tears hot on my cheeks. But Dad wasn't done. Pack your shit and get out. You're done here. Ethan hovered in the background, feigning concern, but his eyes gleamed with victory. Mom knelt to sweep up the pieces, murmuring, "We'll get you new ones, baby. Just apologize." Apologize? For what? Surviving their favoritism. I stumbled to my room, the one with the faded ASU posters and a lock that didn't work, barricading the door with my desk chair. In the mirror, my reflection stared back, dark hair tangled, hazel eyes, Dad's eyes, burning with a fire I'd never let loose. That night, as coyotes howled in the distance, I didn't cry. I planned. By morning, I'd texted my old boss at the community college library, crashing on her couch in Tempe. My phone buzzed with Mom's apologies. We overreacted. Come home. Interspersed with Ethan's taunts. Told you you'd blow it. But I was done reading their scripts. The family business? I'd balanced those books for years. Knew every shell company, every offshore account Ethan had funneled money into. Suds and Shine wasn't just car washes, it was a web of laundromats. Ironic, given how dirty the money was. My first move was small. Surgical, an anonymous tip to the Arizona Department of Revenue about discrepancies in their sales tax filings. Nothing that screamed revenge, just enough to trigger an audit. I had copies, digital scans from the office server I'd accidentally backed up to my cloud drive months ago, labeled as study notes for my degree. As I settled into the library's back office gig, shelving dog-eared copies of The Great Gatsby, all about that green light of ill-gotten gains, I watched from afar. The audit hit like monsoon season. Dad called, voice cracking over speakerphone at my new job. "Aurora, what did you do?" "They're freezing our accounts." I feigned shock. signing to my coworker Mia, a fellow hard-of-hearing badass who taught me ASL profanity. Family drama, I mouthed. But inside, the thrill coiled like a rattler. Ethan, ever the schemer, flipped the script overnight. He showed up at the library 2 weeks later, all puppy dog eyes and a bouquet of cacti from the gas station. Sis, I messed up. Told Mom and Dad it was my fault. The ignoring thing was bullshit. Come back. We'll fix the AIDS together. His lips formed the word slow, like he thought I was stupid, not deaf. I read the subtext. By my apology, or I'll bury you deeper. I let him in, just enough. Over coffee at a drive-thru. I signed my terms, full restitution for the AIDS, $5,000 out of pocket, and a cut of the business to go independent. He agreed too quick. That shark smile flashing. But as he drove off in his lifted F-150, I saw the tell. A burner phone call to his shady accountant, the one who'd helped hide the embezzlement. That's when the real game began. Ethan wasn't just a fuck-up, he was a chameleon, flipping alliances like poker hands. Next, he leaked to the local rag, the Arizona Republic, a sob story about family strife crippling small business, painting me as the bitter outcast sabotaging the American dream. Comments flooded in. Deaf girl thinks she's entitled? Boo-hoo. Typical millennial entitlement. It stung. But it fueled me. In America, where bootstraps are gospel and disability checks are handouts, I was the villain before I'd even swung back. While they lawyered up against the audit, I dug deeper. Late nights in the library's computer lab, VPN masked, I traced Ethan's digital footprints, Venmo trails to bookies, crypto wallets stuffed with skimmed cash. The secret he'd buried? Not just theft, but the root of my deafness. He'd confessed once, drunk at a family barbecue 5 years back, whispering, I didn't mean to push you that hard, Rory. But you saw me take the watch, had to shut you up. I'd gaslit myself into forgetting. But the scar on my temple didn't lie. Armed with that, I escalated. Another tip, this time to the feds, wire fraud, interstate gambling ties through the car wash POS systems. Ethan's flips continued. He tried wooing me back with a check for the AIDS, then ghosted when the subpoena hit. Mom called. Hysterical. Your brother's innocent. It's all a misunderstanding. Dad, radio silence. Pride his only armor. By the end of summer, Suds and Shine was hemorrhaging, locations shuttered, employees jumping ship. I got a part-time gig at a Tempe startup, coding accessibility apps. Ironic justice for the family that had silenced me. But the hooks were set, now to reel them in. Fall crept into the valley of the sun like a thief, turning palm fronds brittle and the air crisp with impending ruin. I'd upgraded to a studio apartment above a talk area. The scent of sizzling carne asada, my new alarm clock, and a second-hand pair of hearing aids courtesy of a non-profit grant, basic, but they hummed with clarity, amplifying every lie from 50 paces. Mia became my ride or die. Crashing girls' nights with bootleg margaritas and rants about ableist bullshit. Your family's toxic as fuck, Rory, she'd sign, her neon nails flashing. Burn it down. I was tempted. But revenge isn't arson, it's erosion. The federal probe snowballed. Agents in cheap suits raiding the flagship car wash on Camelback Road, hauling servers and ledgers while Dad bellowed about Fourth Amendment rights on the evening news. Ethan, the master flipper, pivoted to self-preservation. He cut a deal, ratting on the accountant for immunity, but not before wiring the last of the offshore funds to a Cayman account in Mom's maiden name. Scheming bastard, turning on his enabler to save his skin. Mom showed up unannounced one October afternoon. Her once-dyed blonde hair, now a brittle gray helmet, clutching a Tupperware of her famous lemon bars like a peace offering. I let her in, the aides picking up the tremor in her voice as she perched on my futon. "Aurora, baby, this has to stop. Your father's had a heart scare, stress, the doctors say. Ethan's. He's changed. Promise to make amends. Amends." The word tasted like battery acid. I signed back. Deliberate. Amends for what? The push? The lies? The bat? Her face crumpled, the buried secret clawing its way up like a desert corpse after rain. We were protecting the family. Ethan was just a kid. You were always so strong.
Rory.
We thought you'd bounce back.
Strong.
That's the myth they'd sold me. The resilient deaf girl who didn't need coddling. Who could overcome while they babied the screw-up. But strength has a shelf life. And mine expired the night the aids shattered. Protecting, I voiced. The word sharp as shattered glass. You mean covering your asses. I took the fall for his crimes so you could keep the facade. She wept then, mascara rivers down her cheeks, confessing in whispers the full rot. Ethan's first theft wasn't the watch, but dipping into Dad's retirement fund at 14 for a joyride that totaled the family minivan. I'd claimed I hotwired at me, 8 years old, because Mom begged. Think of your brother, Aurora. He's got so much potential. Potential? The kind that led to juvie dodged via connections, college flunked on Daddy's dime, and now federal charges. As she spilled, I recorded it all, phone hidden in my lap, aids mic boosting every sob. Controversial? Hell yes. Entrapping your own mother in a moment of weakness. Twisting familial love into legal leverage. But in the Coliseum of American justice, where plea deals are king and blood means squat, morality's a luxury I couldn't afford. Ethan's next flip came swift as a haboob. He called from a prepaid, voice oily, heard Mom spilled her guts. Look, Rory, I know about the recording. Delete it, and I'll split the Cayman stash 50-50. We bleed, dry together. Tempting, that serpent's whisper. For a heartbeat, I pictured it, us against them. Sibling solidarity, reclaiming the empire we'd both been shortchanged. But then I remembered the attic stairs, the vertigo of freefall, the silence that followed.
No.
He was poison, flipping from foe to ally only when the noose tightened. I strung him along, agreeing to meet at a neutral spot, a dive bar off I-10, neon Miller signs flickering like faulty synapses. He arrived flashy, gold chain glinting, but his eyes darted like a cornered coyote. Over wings and whiskey, he laid it out, forged docs to pin the fraud on Dad. Blame the heart attack for incompetence, collect insurance on the business collapse. It's poetic, sis. They made us monsters. Now we finished the job. The decision hung there. Controversial as a Trump rally in a blue state. Join the devil I knew. Or burn the bridge solo. My gut twisted. Part of me ached for that twisted unity. The fantasy of us as avenging angels against parental neglect. But Ethan's flips were legend. He'd sold out his high school dealer to skate prom night pot bust. Ghosted his baby mama when child support loomed. Trust him? I'd sooner bet on a scorpion's hug. Instead, I nodded, signed deal, and slipped a USB drive across the table, fake docs laced with trackers. He bit, plugging it into his laptop right there, the malware blooming like digital kudzu, siphoning his Cayman login creds. By dawn, I drained the account, not to my pockets, but to a whistleblower fund for embezzlement victims. The car wash employees stiffed on paychecks. Ethan's rage voicemail was a masterpiece. "You deaf bitch. I'll ruin you." But the feds were already en route, tipped by my anonymous packet. Mom's fallout was uglier. The recording leaked not by me, but via Ethan's vengeful hack of my cloud. A desperate Hail Mary that backfired spectacularly. The Republic ran at front page. Car wash queen confesses, family cover-up of son's crimes. Protests erupted outside the remaining locations, picket lines of ex-employees chanting, "Justice for the silenced."
Mom.
Ever the survivor. Flip 2 filed for divorce, claiming dad's abuse, the bad incident, twisted into domestic violence, and countersued for half the assets.
Dad,
isolated in his hospital bed, finally called me. "Aurora. Was it you?" His voice, frail through the aids, cracked the last of my armor. "Yes," I admitted silently. "For every secret you buried."
He sighed.
A sound like deflating tires. "I pushed you that day in the attic."
Not Ethan.
I was hungover, raging at him, and you got in the way. We lied to protect everything. The twist gutted me. The villain wasn't just brother, but father. The shove is drunken remorse. All those years, I'd hated the wrong monster. The climax brewed through November. Thanksgiving a farce with takeout turkey and empty chairs. The family empire crumbled. Auctions for the car washes. Dad's golf clubs pawned. Mom's Mercedes repossessed. Ethan skipped bail, fleeing to Mexico with a stripper side piece, leaving IOUs like confetti. I could have stopped it, pulled the tips, played the prodigal daughter, but the tension coiled tighter. Every decision a razor wire. Save them and betray myself? Or watch the fall? Knowing I'd lit the fuse, protesters turned on me when the leaks traced back, online sleuths doxing my apartment, eggs splattering the taqueria windows. "Vindictive cripple destroys jobs," screamed the trolls. Polarizing. Yeah, was I avenger or arsonist? The disabled icon fighting systemic favoritism? Or the bitter kin torching her roots? Even Mia wavered. "This is getting dark." "Rory. What's the endgame?" I didn't know anymore. But as Black Friday sales boomed without suds and shine to compete, I prepped the final blow. December dawned frigid for Phoenix. A freak chill that mirrored the frost in my veins as the empire's embers smoldered. Dad's discharge from the hospital coincided with the bankruptcy filing. His once broad shoulders hunched under a threadbare Cardinals jacket. He tracked me down at the taqueria, waiting in the alley with a manila envelope and eyes like cracked adobe. "Everything," he rasped,
Thrusting it at me.
Inside, deeds to the last unencumbered property, a fixer-upper lot in Mesa, titled in my name. "It's yours.
Take it and
Forgive. If you can. Forgive." The word was a grenade in an America where grudges are currency and apologies are for the weak. I stared at the papers. The aides catching the distant hum of traffic on the 101, a lifeline to the world they'd muted. This was his flip. The ultimate schemer's pivot, from denial to disownment, sacrificing the scraps to salve his soul. But the secret he'd unearthed? His shove. Not Ethan's. I'd borne the deafness for the wrong sin. A double betrayal that made the revenge taste like ash.
Mom.
Meanwhile, lawyered up in Reno, filing motions to claw back her share. painting me as the puppet master in court docs leaked to the press. Daughter's vendetta rooted in childhood trauma. The headlines blared. Psychologists weighing in on familial Munchausen by proxy me. The fabricated victim turned perpetrator. Controversial as hell, was I the hero exposing rot? Or the villain weaponizing disability for clout? Talk radio ate it up. Callers splitting hairs. She had it coming, but damn, the kid's deaf. While disability advocates rallied. Petitions circulating for a Netflix doc on silent siblings. Ethan's endgame unraveled in Tijuana. A botched border cross with fake plates and a kilo in his trunk. DEA tip courtesy of my final anonymous forward. The Cayman logs his noose. Extradited in chains. He lawyered with the family retainer. Flipping one last time. Plea for reduced sentence by testifying against mom's divorce fraud. The courtroom drama peaked in Maricopa Superior. A circus of AZ justice where judges golf with defendants and plea deals are gospel. I testified. Roped in as a key witness to the fraud. Perched in the box. Aides whirring under the fluorescent buzz. I laid it bare. The attic truth from Dad. The cover-ups. The bat. The gallery gasped, Mom's sighed jeering lies. Dad's nodding solemn, polarizing the room like a Trump verdict. Jurors whispered, was I credible? Or coerced? The crime I'd borne? Not just deafness, but the erasure of my agency. The family's original sin of choosing convenience over confession. The climax detonated mid-trial. Ethan, on the stand, cracked under cross, sobbing. He confessed the watch theft. The push he'd blamed on Dad. The embezzlement blueprint he'd sketched at 16 with Mom's encouragement. She said Aurora could take the heat. She's tough. Right? The courtroom erupted. Bailiff barking order as Mom lunged. Shrieking, you little shit. Dad slumped, clutching his chest again. Medics wheeling him out in chaos. In that maelstrom, my revenge crested, not with a bang, but a quiet handover. I slipped the Mesa deed back to Dad's lawyer pre-recess, whispering, sell it. Pay the victims. No gloating. No mic drop, just the erosion complete. Suds and shine dissolved. Assets liquidated to creditors, the ex-employees. The IRS. Even a fund for hearing aid charities I'd quietly seeded. They lost everything. The mansion foreclosed. Cars towed. Reputations shredded in viral TikToks of the bat-swinging meltdown.
But the twist?
As Ethan got 5 years in Florence, federal pen. No country club, Mom skipped to Canada on a bogus passport, Dad rehabbing in a subsidized apartment. I walked away hollow. The polarizing gut punch. In court. The judge, a grizzled vet with a soft spot for family feuds, leaned in post-verdict. You could have buried them deeper. Miss Hale. Why stop? Because I signed to the empty gallery later. Rain pattering the courthouse steps. Vengeance isn't victory. I'd made them lose it all. But in the mirror of their ruin, I saw my own fracture. The girl who'd traded silence for survival. Only to scream too late. Happy ending? Nah, by kitsch laced with bitter peace. Ethan wrote from prison. You win, Rory. But we were both pawns. Debatable as fuck. Who's the real monster in the machine of American ambition?
Now.
In my Tempe walk-up, coding apps that amplify the overlooked, I hear it all, the world's roar. Unfiltered. The aids hum steady. A reminder that some shatters can't be fixed. Only reforged. And if the family ghosts ever call, I'll answer, lips read, heart guarded. After all, in the land of the free, revenge is just another word for reckoning.